the staff, and the administrators in their support in providing access to the knowledge and access to the ideas that will lead our students to shaping the future. And we're working to ensure our students have access to these opportunities that will shape our state, that will also shape our nation's economy, and also essential for a better tomorrow for all. And our efforts are helping our Hispanic students specifically to do just that. We have 5,932 Hispanic students enrolled in a STEM major. That's unheard of. That includes 3,415 students in the College of Engineering, 534 students studying animal science, 486 students studying biology, and 372 Broncos studying computer science. We also have 878 students in our College of Agriculture, where we focus on agribusiness, plant science, food science, among other global STEM initiatives. And while all of our majors are important, Cal Poly Pomona, as the most diverse polytechnic university, is about breaking the boundaries. It is about moving us in areas, moving our students in areas that are so grossly underrepresented. And very quickly, I want to tell the story. I know some of you have heard me share the story before. There was a mother during one of our open house sessions who was very concerned about her son who wanted to major in agriculture. And so I said, well, could you help me understand? Because agriculture is one of the big businesses here in California, and it is so essential. She said, I don't want him to be working in the fields like me and my husband. And that has stuck with me, because what it has said is we also have a responsibility as a university to not presume that parents, that the community understands what we do here. We have an obligation to help to understand what will be achieved by your son or your daughter coming here. And so I said to her, he will go to the field because he wanted to work in food science, and he'll be testing things, but he will have very different options than you or your husband. And so she paused, she looked at me, and she said, okay, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna let him come here. And so I'm sure he's doing fine, because I don't want to see Mom. She knows where I work and where my office is. I say that part of being a higher education institution is to provide access to knowledge and to opportunities that typically haven't been out of our reach. And so this is such an important moment. And again, I want to thank both of the people who are being honored, because they are essential. They are helping to push that agenda of access and opportunity for all. And again, Senator, thank you so much. I just met the senator's goddaughter. Where is she? Right there. Okay. And so she wants to go and get her, she said initially, a master's in psychology, and we're going to be talking about the doctoral program that she's going to pursue. But thank you so much for this opportunity to share. And again, I want to also recognize and acknowledge my husband. We just said, fortunately, we didn't get a ticket speeding from from Long Beach. He was able to get us here. And again, I'm so privileged. Thank you so much.
Thank you, President Coley, for those amazing words. Now, next, I will be introducing our guest speaker, Senator Archuleta. A little bit about Senator Bob Archuleta. He is a former presidential appointee and Pico Rivera city mayor. He's dedicated his life to serving his community and his country proudly. He was elected November 2018 to the California State Senate to represent portions of Los Angeles County and Orange County. Senator Archuleta is the chair of Senate Committee Military and Veteran Affairs and the Senate Select Committee on Hydrogen Energy. In addition, on his committees, Governor Gavin Newsom appointed Senator Archuleta to the Governor's Military Council, which oversees more than 30 military bases in the state of California. Senator Archuleta served as a presidential appointee under the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama, as a member of the Board of Visitors to the United States Military Academy at West Point. The senator was the first Mexican-American to be appointed by any president as a member of the board and was immediately elected as co-chair. He also served on the Los Angeles County Military Veteran Affairs Commission, the United States Army Advisory Board for Military Recruitment, and the Los Angeles County Library Commission. In addition to his political position, Senator Archuleta is a combat veteran and was a paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division. Senator Archuleta has received congressional recognition awards and proclamations for service. He has also been recognized by the Vietnam Veterans of America, Hispanic American Airborne Association, and Veterans of Foreign Wars. Senator Archuleta has received the Leadership Award from National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, was named 2019 Legislator of the Year by American GI Forum of California, and received the 2022 Legislator of the Year by Latin Business Association. Senator Archuleta grew up in the neighborhood of Lincoln Heights in Los Angeles. He graduated from Salesian High School and later enlisted in the United States Army, serving as the 82nd Airborne Division as a paratrooper. He passed on the tradition of public service to his 5 children. He is married to his wife, Rose, and has 5 children and 11 grandchildren, with 2 sons who have graduated from West Point and are currently serving in the military. Here is our guest speaker today, Senator Archuleta.
Well, I hope my speech isn't as long as the introduction. My God. Madam President, I'm telling you, I don't know. It wasn't my fault. It was J-Lo's. So, and to your husband, a veteran, welcome home from one old trooper to another. And that's what we say to our fellow veterans. Hey, old trooper, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Merchant Marine, doesn't matter. We see one another. It's always welcome home, because it's such a great honor to serve this great country in uniform, and then to be able to come home and do something with what you learned, whether it be through education, through experience, or just living life. And mine was to be thankful that the good Lord brought me home. And I want to tell you that I think what turned my life around was the military. And because when after my deployment, I came home and I said, I'm going to start a family and I'm going to educate my kids, because that's the number one thing that's here. Madam President, you know that. And diversity in that field of education, important. And to our doctors that are being honored today, your work in education has opened up doors for so many, and you have no idea the number of people, of the lives you've touched. It will happen before you know it. When you're about ready to retire, somebody's going to tap you on the shoulder and say, I'm ready to take your place. And I'm going to do it because you opened the door and led the way. So both of you are being honored today because you're being recognized. And I will tell you, when I came home, as I said, I wanted to educate my 5. And so my oldest son played football for USC and has a Rose Bowl ring. How about that? Bobby Archuleta played for the Trojans. And then I have a daughter out of Pepperdine, a daughter out of Chapman. And as the president said, I have 2 sons that graduated from West Point, taking on leadership position. One was the first Latino student body president in the history of West Point. The other one, 4 years later, became as vice president. So the Archuleta boys have set the pattern for others to come in, minorities to go ahead and take on that challenge there at West Point. They're both still serving. One's now a lieutenant colonel, and the other one's a major. And talk about education, the youngest of the 2 has his master's out of Yale and Harvard. The other one has his PhD, and he's a strategist. But when I look at what they've done, all the 5, and I was growing up, and the story goes that I came from a broken family, never met my mother until I was 12, no father, running the streets of Lincoln Heights. So when you think of Lincoln Heights, my deputy director, Hector Chacon, grew up with Dr. Huerta. and both in Lincoln Heights. You can imagine they both lived in the projects. Well, at least they had a roof over their head. Mine was out in the streets, and I was selling flowers when you guys were watching TV. So I was selling flowers in the corners, and I survived it. So you can imagine what if you have this pride within yourself, and I think that's what education does. It gives you this self-pride to move forward, to be competitive, to be part of society, to be able to say, I can do it. Hey, how did you get there? I want to join that. I want to be part of this. You got that degree? I want to get that degree. You're the president? Why can't I do it? You look like me. I look like you. Why can't we do it? So when the President of the United States, Barack Obama, appointed me throughout the country, 330 million Americans, the first Latino in history to be appointed by any president to sit on that board that oversees the United States Military Academy at West Point. We have 100,000 applicants. They only take 1,000 per year. And I was chosen to be there. And so when I talked to the three-star general, and I took over and I said, General, I looked around, I said, this doesn't look like America to me. Where's diversity? Where's the African Americans? Where's the Latinos? Where's the APIs? Where is everybody? Come on, let's start and get a program going, because we've got men and women in Texas, Arizona, Chicago, all over this country that need to be here at West Point and be part of that $450,000 scholarship. And we've got to train these young men and women to be our leaders. So let's straighten this out, or those 3 stars are going to be gone. So right now, West Point very proudly graduated the largest class of Latinos, the largest class of African-American women in the history of West Point, because one person asked another person, or maybe demanded diversity. Well, Madam President, you don't have to demand diversity, because you have it here. And that diversity gives you strength, and it gives you the opportunity for all of us to come together and honor men and women like we have today. And I will tell you that you are part of it all, that it is all of you just kicking and kicking and getting that ceiling to open up, because the people behind you are going to be pushing even harder. Can you imagine what my 5 kids are going to be doing with their grandkids and their grandkids? Guess what? Nobody's going to ask anything about where you went to school. They'll know your credentials by where you stand. And those of you who stand here are the top professors, the top students that we have in California. And I congratulate you. So I think you deserve a round of applause. What do you think? Well, I will tell you this, that it's my honor to be here at Cal Poly Pomona. The heritage, the spirits that you have here, the history you have here is unbelievable. But it is a privilege to be here. But with that privilege comes responsibility. The responsibility is to make sure you keep opening that door for others, to make sure that you as the professors and the instructors give them the best you can do. Because I will tell you that in my life, as I said, I ran away. I was a runaway. I was running the streets. I didn't know anything. And then in the 8th grade, a teacher pulled me aside, Mrs. Perez, and said, hey, come here, Bobby. I want you to read this. And I couldn't. And she said, and we tug-of-war with the book. And she goes, you can't read, can you? And I said, no, I can't. She goes, here's what we're going to do. Every day after school, you're going to come into my office, we're going to sit down, and we went over every book in the 1st grade, the 2nd grade. By the end of the semester, she had me all the way up to 8th grade. I could read, I could be challenged, and I ran for student council. I became a leader, and I've never looked back because of one teacher, Mrs. Perez. So who's the Mrs. Perez in this room, or the Mr. Perez? You can change a life because you have the possibilities right before you. Take advantage of it. Grab that student, that what we used to call in Spanish, travieso, that kid that would just run up and down the aisles and wouldn't seem to pay attention. Well, obviously they're here because they're ready to pay attention. You just got to shake them up a little bit, straighten them out, because they're going to take that seat where you're sitting right now if you've done your job. If you've done your job. And that's what I'm here, to acknowledge the job that you've done. And I think that both of you, Dr. Terri Gomez and Dr. Huerta, both of you, outstanding education backgrounds. And you know what? Here I'm telling my story. I had this, I had nothing, or whatever. Hey, their story is exactly the same. I just mentioned my deputy director, lived in the projects with the doctor over there as neighbors. And of course, you, I mean, you know what? That her family was picking olives or what were they, onions and this, that, and the other when she was 4 years old, and they were trying to pick, and she's pulling their hairs and just messing things up and taking things out of the basket instead of putting them in the basket, right? And now her sister is about to become a senator in California, and here she is the provost. So I think that what a story, right? So, Dr. Gomez, you are an inspiration with that story in itself. But that's America. That is America. So my story is, forget my story. You know, I got shot at and jumped out of airplanes. What's the big thing about that? I came home and I raised a family. That's the big thing. So teaching these young men to take on the responsibility of that privilege, which is being a parent, being a father. And that's so important. And I will tell you this. Today, we're going to talk about, just for a second, about public service, because all of you are coming together to acknowledge the men and women who are in public service, the Hispanic Americans that are doing something. And each and every one of you, with the future that you're making for them, or those of you, the students, your future is wide open. So public service is something that's, it's within us, except we've got to get it out. And that's where the educators have got to open the doors for us. As the first Latino combat veteran to do some of the things I've done, I still look back to those who've helped me, and it's people like yourselves. And I will tell you that long tradition right here at this school is something that's going to go on somebody's resume, and it's going to have your signature on it along with that student, and they're going to be combined, and they're going to get a phone call. How was he? How was she? And you're going to say, we trained them, we prepared them, and that's why they're competitive. Hire them, because Hispanic Americans make up the workforce, they make up the military force, and they're going to make up the leadership in California with your leadership. And I think that calls for an applause. What do you think? Wow. So I stand here before all the aspiring leaders that we have here today, and the fundamental service and background that you have, as I'd mentioned, open up the doors. It is essential that we recognize the two that we have today, because without them, we wouldn't be here. And I will close with this. The challenges that you have before you are just beginning. The future is just beginning. You heard that I was the chair of the Hydrogen and Energy Committee. Can you imagine Hispanic Americans now thinking about hydrogen and energy? Yes, we're going to get part of that energy. We're going to be part of that hydrogen in the future. And I was able to push bills and so on to go in that direction. Governor signed them, and we're opening up doors. I've gotten, through Congress, $1.5 billion coming to California for hydrogen. It is part of the future. We got to teach and train these young men and women to be part of it. And we can do that. We can do it here. And month after month, we should be ready. Not just Latino Heritage Month, but right now, every month. And I will tell you that God has been good to me, and I know he's been good to you, because you're sitting there when there are 15,000 people that like to be sitting in your seat right now. And all the students that are trying to come into this university, they're waiting in line. But you know what? It's okay. You keep them waiting, because that means you're going to get the best of the best, as you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to say I am your senator. I'm proud to serve and represent you. You just remember where you came from, who you are, and don't forget your calling in life, not your education, not your job, but your calling. And that's where you're teaching. So, Mrs. Perez or Mrs. Perez, stand up and be recognized, because you deserve it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Senator Archuleta, for those amazing words. And just to point out, as you said, the importance of paying it back and keeping the authenticity as you go up, which leads to our next honoree. Sorry, y'all. The mic is winning. But Dr. Terri Gomez was appointed to the role of Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs for Cal Poly Pomona in June 2024. Dr. Gomez. Dr. Gomez has been a member of Cal Poly Pomona community for 25 years, starting first as a lecturer and rising to the rank of full professor in the Department of Ethnic and Women's Studies. She has served in a range of administrative roles, including department chair and interim associate dean in the College of Education, Integrative Studies. as well as interim associate vice president before being appointed in 2018 as an inaugural associate vice president for student success. In 2020, she was named Associate Provost for Student Success, Equity, and Innovation with an expanded portfolio that includes academic advising, the Bronco Advising Center, be prepared, y'all, undeclared advising, early start, learning resource center, first year experience, common read, poly transfer, STEM success, academic innovation, student innovation ideas lab, Kellogg Honors College, Center for Community Service Learning, Office of Undergraduate Research, and TRIO funded reading and mentoring program, RAMP. Dr. Gomez is nationally recognized leader for her work on student success and developing innovative programs to address the needs of diverse student populations. In 2016, Dr. Gomez was responsible for the launch of the Office of Student Success at Cal Poly Pomona to focus our campus efforts as part of the CSU Graduation Initiative 2025. By developing a range of campus partnerships, support programs, and academic interventions, she has led advances in student retention, persistence, and graduation with the ultimate goal of eliminating equity gaps and for the most vulnerable students. As an administrator and educator, Dr. Gomez has been an exemplary example for many years of creating programs, teaching, and advocating for all students, especially those from disadvantaged backgrounds, to reach their full potentials. In 2021, she received the UCLA Academic Advancement Program Distinguished Alumni Award. In 2024, she was honored by Los Angeles County Supervisor Hilda Solis by her leadership in empowering vulnerable communities. Dr. Gomez is a first-generation graduate from Inland Empire. She earned her BA, MA, and PhD in political science from UCLA. I am here to introduce Dr. Gomez.
Oh my, okay, thank you. Senator Archuleta, thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be recognized today, but more than anything, I'm honored to be a part of this community. And every day we hear about the questioning of the value of higher ed. Is it worth it? Should we send our kids to college? We're here to be a testament to the fact that it matters, it's transformational, and our parents know that it matters. My mother with her 3rd grade formal education, my father with his 5th grade formal education, knew that their children's lives would improve immensely if they had a shot at higher ed. And so they encouraged us. They couldn't help us with our homework, but they gave us something much more valuable. And it was this example of hard work and community, how to be in community and to help each other. And so it's those same values that I see in my students, in the folks that I work with. I'm just honored to be a part of this community and to serve with this president. I would have been just fine being in a classroom because that work in the classroom is pure magic. And my colleagues who teach, you know that. It's really an incredible honor to work with our students. But when President Coley came to this campus, and I knew it was special, and I knew that being in leadership would matter here. So I am thrilled to see my new friend Christian, my new friend Susana, and where is Nancy Mejia Terriquez? So that's one of my older students who's gone off to make for herself a great career in higher ed. It is exactly that pathway. And if I'm an example of anything, it's that anybody can do it. If I can do this, you can do anything. And I think you know that. And I'm just honored to be recognized with my colleague today, Álvaro Huerta. Thank you.
And Terri, don't run away here. Hang on. Ladies and gentlemen, these were sent down from Sacramento, and it's a resolution for Dr. Terri Gomez, and on behalf of the state of California. You heard her resume. Well, this continues, but at the end it does say, and wait a minute, there's so many letters in this thing, I'm telling you. But Dr. Gomez, on behalf of the state of California, and of course myself, I will tell you this: your hard work, your time here, your future here is going to be recognized, and today it is your day to be recognized by the state of California. Congratulations.
Thank you, Provost Gomez. Next, we have Dr. Álvaro Huerta as our honoree. Dr. Álvaro Huerta is Associate Professor of Urban and Regional Planning and Ethnic and Women's Studies at Cal Poly Pomona. From 2021 to 2024, he was a Religion and Public Life Organizing Fellow at Harvard Divinity School. Yes, Harvard. As an undergraduate student activist at UCLA, Dr. Huerta was actively involved in recruiting more Latino youth in higher education. Among other campaigns, he helped organize the first hunger strike at UCLA in defense of undocumented students. As a community activist for many years, Dr. Huerta co-founded the Association of Latin American Gardeners of Los Angeles, ALAGLA, successfully challenging the city of Los Angeles' draconian leaf blower ban. The harsh penalties included misdemeanor charges of a $1,000 fine up to 6 months in jail. He also led an environmental justice EJ campaign to defeat proposed power plants in Southgate, California, a predominantly Latino city. If built, the plant would have emitted over 150 tons of pollution per year, including particulate matter, which leads to the premature death, heart failure, and respiratory ailments, a lot of environmental injustices that these communities face. After returning to the university, where Dr. Huerta earned his graduate degree from UCLA and UC Berkeley, he eventually secured a faculty position at his current campus. He has published extensively, including the forthcoming book with MIT Press. He has also organized many panel discussions and webinars on key issues impacting Latinos, Latinas. Additionally, he played a leadership role to require the CSU undergraduate student to take ethnic studies course to graduate. Moreover, he's continuously interviewed by major media outlets in English and Spanish, advocating for the human and civil rights of Latinos in general and immigrants particularly. As a scholar activist, Dr. Huerta has been tireless activist for importance of higher education for Latinos, especially those from working class and immigrant communities like himself. As a professor, he educates, mentors, and fosters next generation of leaders. In 2016, he received the Edward Blakely Award for advancing the cause of social and racial justice in urban planning, Association of Colleague Schools of Planning. In 2021, he received the UCLA Academic Advancement Program Distinguished Alumni Award. Dr. Huerta is a first-generation graduate from East LA, notorious Ramona Gardens Public Housing Project. He holds a PhD in City and Regional Planning from UC Berkeley and holds an Urban and Regional Planning BA in History from UCLA. I am here to introduce Dr. Huerta.
I want to meet that guy. He must be good looking too. Yeah, so let me put this timer because like the president, I'm going to go over. So I want to thank the president, her husband, for being here. I know she does respond to my emails actually. Is this really her? And they were very gracious and very humble in downing a scholarship for our students. A good amount too. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to introduce her to my son because he needs a scholarship. So I'd like to thank also the senator for this privilege of honoring us, congratulate the provost, the people here at the library for helping organize this event, Chris and Marilu, and then also Sam from the media. I see Provost Akers, Dean Akers and Dean Johnson here, future provost. Dr. Dixon is here, and I see other students that are here that owe me a paper, so I don't know what you're doing here. You should be working on your paper. We'll talk about that later. Originally, this was actually an event where Dr. Hector Chacon and myself were talking about inviting the senator to give a talk in my class, and we usually have him in the library to invite more people about public service. And then through our conversations, he surprised me with a conversation he had with the senator, who has a remarkable story about taking advantage of Hispanic Heritage Month or Latino Heritage Month to honor the provost and myself. The provost, as far as I'm concerned, is like what Justice Sotomayor referred to as the wise Latina. And speaking of wise Latinas here, my wife is here, Antonia. It's like she's doing time for putting up with me for 32 years. And then we met earlier than that. We were like together even before that. So anytime I get rejected from a program, I applied for public policy at UCLA, I got rejected, and I always have a fallback. I'm like, you guys are racist. Damn racist. And then I was gonna use that on Antonia at the time. She was not my girlfriend, but it's like, hey, you wanna be my, like boyfriend, girlfriend thing? And then I was already ready to say, like, if she said no, like, you're a racist. And then when I actually said it, she goes, well, I'm Mexican too. So, oh, that's not gonna work. So to me, being at Cal Poly Pomona, it's a beautiful thing. I believe, and I'm sure all of us here, that diversity is not our weakness, as some people argue in this country, but it's our strength. Like, I believe in bridges over borders. I believe in education in universities over prisons. So, I don't want to cry because I'm going to lose my street cred. But you see immigrants being attacked, Haitians being attacked. And a lot of immigrants, and you all know this, and I'm going to say it in Spanish, they'll say something like, quiero que estudies para que no sufres como yo. I want you to go to school so you don't work hard as like me. So those to me are their heroes. Those to me are the role models. Like my mother, like my mother-in-law, cleaning houses for 50 years and wanting their children to do better than them, but not having the ability to teach us how to read or how to write or how to do math problems because they didn't go to school, because they come from the countryside, because they come from poverty in Mexico. So when they get here, they want their children to do better than them. And I know the president's story. She's talked about the obstacles she overcame growing up and how she overcame those obstacles and has never forgotten her roots and to give back so that others don't have that same experience. And I'm sure that other of you think likewise. When I got the email from Harvard Divinity School to teach for 3 years, everybody was like congratulating me, and I had a Harvard sweater, so I kind of gave it away, and the pajamas, And it's like, are you intimidated? Are you afraid? It's such an honor. And I said to them, I said, like Frederick Douglass said in the early 1900s, I assure you the honor is theirs. So they're lucky that I'm there, They're lucky that I'm there. So I come from the bottom of society. In Tijuana, from the projects, Big Hazard. And everybody's like, oh, the gangs. We were not afraid of the gangs because they were our friends, they were our neighbors, our moms were comadres. Now, I'm against black people killing black people, brown people killing brown people for land we don't even own. But they are victims of this system that we call redlining. They're victims of racial segregation, of concentration, of poverty, of that dark history in America that we must change, and we must learn from that history so that we don't repeat these atrocities that happen to our people. So that's, to me, where I'm from. That's who I am. And those who know me, they know I joke a lot, and they don't even know if I'm serious or not. And I will pretty much die that way, because a lot of times it's my humor that allows me to deal with those traumas. that my people go through, being put in cages, being scapegoated. And I hate the fact that we have to bow down, that my dad had to bow down, that my mom had to bow down. And I tell them, don't bow. I tell my students, I tell my son, I tell my dog that we adopted, do not bow down. You are worthy. Do not let anybody determine your self-worth but yourself. Don't let anybody validate you but yourself. Because if you allow that to do, you will be part of the servant class, like they want you to be. So I refuse to be that. And I don't believe in this idea of citizenship, of race, or anything. We are all citizens of the world. There's no such thing as an alien. We are all human beings. And it's beautiful to be here because we're a diverse community, and we're here, and we are a village. And we all have many villages. And I say to the students here and the two people on Facebook Live, that y'all gonna make it. Y'all gonna make it. I say y'all like Britney Spears, go free Britney. Y'all gonna make it because of your village. Y'all not gonna make it because of your individualism. Because it is a cliche, but it does take a village. And if you don't have a village, create a village. Because the people here are here to help you and take advantage of that, to get ahead, but never forget where you come from. Don't be ashamed of who you are. If you come from the background that I came from, because at one point I was. So that's who I am. And that's what I represent. And I don't apologize to anybody. My homeboys, they're not here anymore. And the ones that are there, it's like, hey, you got to get out of that lifestyle. And somebody has to believe in them just like they believed in me. The unconditional love that my mother had for me, the unconditional love that my wife had for me, and the belief that my mother-in-law told my wife, tell him to go back to school, to finish his BA, to get that master's, to get that PhD. And because of that, and because of them, I always think about myself as part of a village. And for me to inspire my students, not that they belong to me, but the students that I teach, that whatever you're going through, whether it's mental illness, like most of my family suffer from, or not being prepared at the university, because I wasn't prepared in reading and writing. I was a genius in math, just put that out there, apart from my other attributes. It's all right. It's okay if you're not prepared. Ask for help. Only successful people ask for help. Only successful people ask for help. And that's what we're here for. So that's why I'm here. To be of service, because people were of service of me, for me. So with that, like we say in Bow Heights, muchas gracias. Do I get a plaque too?
You might if you stay up here long enough.
I thought the provost only got a plaque. She's a provost.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the passion and the message, diversity, unity, village, contributing, regardless of where we all came from. Because when you think you came from this, there's 15, 20 people in the room that exactly like you, if not the same. So, and that's the key. We are the same, believe it or not, because we want the best for ourselves, our families, and we can do it through education. So because of that trail blazing that you've done, Doctor, this is from you, from behalf of the state of California. Si se puede, my brother. Yeah. Do what? Oh, yeah, let's get you both up here.
No, this is Gomez.
Give me my back.
This is the story of my life. I never had a cake in my, like, they never.
Come on, let's get the book.
This is the story of my life. Like, cross out, there you go, we'll put right back. Give the Mexican the other one. I'm a Mexican too. Yeah, I know.
Oh, in the middle.
All right.
Those resolutions.
Okay.
Good.
Okay, ready?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
And before I go, hang on. I would just like to say before we go, Madam President, thank you. God bless you. You know, she's been up to my office in Sacramento asking for funding, asking for help, and a true leader that you are. And I gave her love. So the love is priceless. Well, speaking of love, I'd like to acknowledge my Deputy Director, Dr. Chacon, who helped put this together, Danny Andalon, my staff, and little Susie Q, my goddaughter, who's my little associate. So with all of you here, thank you once again. Hispanic Heritage Month should be the entire year. Diversity, the entire year. Education, the entire year. And if there's one thing about equaling the playing field, it's education. Go get it, teach it, love it, because you are the best of the best. God bless you. And again, I am your Senator, Bob Archuleta. Thank you.
Show me the money.
Okay, everyone, and that concludes our program. Thank you, everyone, for showing up and supporting. Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.